panel, they're about 80% from Colorado. So if I get kind of lazy and you just see me acting like I'm at lunch, wake me up because I'm hanging out with all my peoples. I got my peoples in the back. Mason Savert, co-proponent of Amendment 64. A lot of good Colorado folks in the audience. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce our panelists. Just give them about 2 or 3 minutes to explain, how they came to this work or how they came to this session, who they represent and what they do. And then we'll have an informal discussion and we'll look to open it up for questions around the last 30 or maybe 40 minutes of the session itself. So closest to me, we have Karen O'Keefe. Your exact title with MPP?
Director of State Policy.
Director of State Policy for the Marijuana Policy Project. Please give Karen a quick round of applause. Next to Karen is Sean Coleman, founder of 360 Solutions. Give Sean a round of applause, please. And next to Sean, Larissa Bolivar, Cannabis Consumers Union Coalition, Executive Director. Give her a round of applause, please. And next to her is a star advocate for medical marijuana patients in the state of Colorado, somebody I consider a mentor and she was asked at the state legislature, Terry Ryan with Cannabis Patients Alliance. The Chief Medical Doctor of the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, Dr. Larry Wolf. And Diego Pieri from, I'm sorry.
Uruguay?
Well, I know that Diego. the organization.
From Derechos Uruguay.
Right. So Diego is involved with legalization in Uruguay from implementation and drafting and so on and so forth. Give Diego a round of applause, please. And we'll let each of you speak for about 2 or 3 minutes and we'll go in the same order again when you can.
Alright, so everybody probably knows what the Marijuana Policy Project is. We've played a leading role in the bulk of the medical marijuana decriminalization laws that passed since 2000 or so and provided a lot of funding and resources for the Colorado and Alaska initiatives. My department works on state legislation, so we're hoping to have the first couple of states that legalize through the state legislature this year. Vermont and Rhode Island have the possibilities, and we've been very involved in the implementation of Alaska as well.
Sean Coleman. So my role in all this is my firm, Solutions, is a lobbying firm. I was able to say, assume people know what a lobbyist is. Basically, my role to play in general lobbyists is you hire lobbyists to represent your interests in front of a lawmaking body, like the state legislature, city council, U.S. Congress, what have you. My folks I represent are marijuana businesses in Colorado. I represent Territory Care Station, the farm, and headquarters cannabis. It's a really interesting role to play because even though it looks and feels primarily like corporate lobbying, because that's what it is, it's about less rules, lower tax than you would expect, there's still such a strong social justice component. I'm fortunate to work for some brands that really do care about that social justice component and really make it part of their legislative agenda when it comes to things. Like for example, we were just having a conversation earlier about license suitability. I'm fortunate to work for those kinds of companies that have remembered that this is still a social justice movement.
Hi everybody, my name is Larissa Bolivar. I have 15 years in the medical marijuana movement as a trailblazer and pioneer, opening one of the first dispensaries in the state of Colorado pre-1284. Now I run the Cannabis Consumers Coalition, which was called the Consumers Union, Cannabis Consumers Union, until I received a cease and desist from Consumer Reports, which then gave us immediate national attention, so that was nice of them. So what I've been working on lately is consumer advocacy. My background is in activism, and that's just my nature, and that's why I do what I do now, and thank you all for being here.
I'm Terry Robnett. I am the founder and executive director of Cannabis Patients Alliance. And it's funny, Art, because I consider you my mentor. So
Yeah, right.
I'm a medical marijuana patient advocate, and I and my organization, we fight for legal, safe, and affordable access to medical marijuana for patients in whatever way works best for them. We do a lot of work on policy and education. We are considered trusted advisors to a lot of policymakers around Colorado and now beginning around the country, where they can call on us when they have questions, when they need information and help with bills. Maybe get calls for family members and friends that have been diagnosed with cancer, et cetera, on how do I treat them. So we work on from everything from the governor's office to the state legislature to local governments. We work with pretty much every agency, whether it's the Department of Health or the Marijuana Enforcement Division, the Department of Revenue, Child Welfare, et cetera, trying to keep patients' interests in the conversation as we continue to educate people. We believe that we are changing hearts and minds one conversation at a time, and that's what we strive to do in Colorado and throughout the country.
Good afternoon, everyone. Larry Wolk. Again, I'm a pediatrician, actually by training, and for the past 2 years and a few months, I've had the privilege and challenge of running the state's health department of both public health and environment in Colorado. Probably the only non-advocate per se. I'm not allowed to be an advocate, not a proponent nor an opponent. I am a regulator, which generally invites blues or hisses or something like that. But I don't see myself as the bad guy here. Terry's brought me a long way. So. I enjoy challenges, and it was interesting for me. Our department is involved in a lot of different aspects of legalized, both medical and recreational marijuana. On the medical side, we oversee the medical marijuana registry. So we do everything from printing out cards and processing applications to now, most recently, funding research and working on trying to have a quality medical marijuana program that we can be proud of in the state, and get the privilege of working with people like Terry, who are very strong advocates for patients and making sure that we have a quality program in the state. On the flip side, we also have this concomitant legalized recreational program for which we, through the Department of Public Health and Environment, have to do surveillance work, and we have to do public education work. And sometimes surveillance and education, when you're talking about legalized use for recreational purposes, comes right up against medical use and vice versa. So it's a very interesting position to be in. We're also responsible for certifying the labs that do the testing, both on the potency side as well as the potential contaminant side. Today that's only required on the recreational used product, but not on the medical product. And so we have to sort of, it's coming, but we've had to work to try and get some harmonization of these two programs. And you all, I'm sure, are well aware, but as somewhat of an outsider coming into the middle of it, trying to deal with regulatory programs where an adult is defined in one program as 18, and in another program is 21, trying to deal with products that's taxed in one program and not taxed or taxed far less in another program is another challenge. Dealing with medical patients and making sure that people understand the health effects, as well as then on the public health side, what we worry about as it relates primarily to youth, also puts us in an interesting position. So look forward to the questions, and maybe I can ask you guys some questions too. So.
And Dr. Wolk has to leave a bit early, so he's not being disrespectful. He has to catch a flight.
Hi, I'm Neil Pieri. I'm from Uruguay. We started this NGO, Pro Derechos, because of the problems we were suffering from the drug laws in Uruguay. And we work in some other issues. mostly all the rights issues about gender, sexual diversity, drugs, mental illness, everything. We work with pushing in the agenda the theme about legalization. And when President Mujica had this idea and this proposal, we work a lot to make it happen, with the government and some other organizations to draft the bill. Then we ran a campaign to support the bill, the Regulación Responsable campaign, and then we keep on working with the government to start the implementation. And now we are like having meetings with the government to say what's going on, what needs to be fixed, and what we can do to make things better. And I think the purpose of this panel is to talk about how can we make the regulation of marijuana perfect. It has to be perfect, and why? Because of two reasons. One, because we need to show the world that this is the way we had to go. This is the way we had to deal with drugs. And what happens with the marijuana regulation is going to tell us about what will happen next with the other drugs, and how can we stop definitely the whole war on drugs. And the other one is, I think it's strongly important in my country, in the whole Latin America, but I think in the States it's very important too, because we have a lot of poor people, that have already suffered because of the war on drugs, and now we need to make that the marijuana regulation and the marijuana industry have some kind of repairedness for those people and bring them back for two reasons. Because that's what justice is about, and the other is because we don't have to make the same mistake that the war on drugs did, that makes the most vulnerable people suffer.
Let's just stay with you, Diego, because you brought that up. I mean, the big thing that we're hearing here at this conference, and that I've been hearing for the last year, is what can the industry do to be inclusive? What, if any, duties are on the industry to set, high standards when it comes to hiring practices, drug testing and inclusion in general. So let everybody know how Uruguay has addressed that concern.
First of all, we have good news that we don't have this record on drug offenses
To prevent people from working.
To prevent people from working in the companies. Everybody can work in companies, but we need to bring people, for example, poor people, that we can train them. There are a lot of programs in Uruguay that we can use to make people starting their little companies to work, to produce marijuana, and to train people to work in the companies. And in the other way, we have a lot of poor farmers that grow food that is very, very low profit, and we have a lot of programs from the government that can be directed for marijuana growing, and we can make these people that already have a little piece of land to grow marijuana and to bring development and to prevent inequality.
So this issue was addressed at the drafting process before the law even became law, but it was a concern during the drafting process, during the run-up, and during the campaign.
It was our concern. The government, is making an approach to marijuana regulation from security issues. What their main goal is to give away the whole black market and replace it with a new legal market. And I think we don't have to discuss that, because the whole regulation of marijuana is about that. And I think that goal is going to be it's going to be done, right? But we are not ambitious and we want more. And we talk about the government to train these poor farmers. But what they say is, well, we have these priorities, and now we're going to have two big companies producing 2 tons per year each. And with those technological greenhouses, it's very big investment and a very complicated technology, and poor farmers cannot deal with that. But you know, when we discussed that 2 years ago, and if the government would do what they were meant to do, to train these people, to give them funding, maybe now they will be ready to do that. But we are discussing this, and I think now we can talk about a program and a quote of 30% of the marijuana being produced by farmers. Wish me luck.
Yeah, so you may not get it perfect at first, but you can work on it and expand it, ideally. Dr. Wolf, you say you're the only regulator on the panel, and so, you know, how challenging is it to regulate from an evidence base, you know, after 100 years of prohibition, you know, propaganda, and in many ways just simple disdain from marijuana? I mean, how challenging has that been in the last 2 or 3 years?
Well, I think it's very challenging. I mean, I think you raise a good point, because I think culturally, a lot of people, especially on the health side, you know, we were raised to say this is bad, this is illegal, this is something we have to counsel patients against and people against. And so there's a lot of bias that you have to overcome. Especially, like I said, if you're a regulator and you want to stay objective, you have to open up your mind. And I'm not sure everyone who's in those regulatory positions opens up